Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm going to jump right in. The McLean County Sheriff's Office investigating what appears to be a conspiracy among McLean County school districts to try to convince you to vote for the sales tax increase. We know about the PAC. We know about Patrick and Barry. Patrick is running for the Unit 5 school board. We know that he's running for school board, but then he's also a treasurer on this PAC. It's Yes for McLean County Schools. Barry Riley is a part of this as well, this PAC. And, they've gotten contributions from the Unit 5 Teachers Association, so the teachers union, I think to the tune of almost $8,000, something like that. Um, and this is just so deceptive. And it's not just me saying that; it's people who are pretty far left have said, "Hey, you're promoting this as a 1 cent tax. It's a little deceptive. You should call it a 1% tax. Of course, 1% means 1 cent of every dollar, right? So." Going out there and telling people that it's only 1 cent is a little deceptive. And, doing this on taxpayer dime. Is that what's going on here, where they're putting this, promotional website featured on all of these district websites? To what extent is the district, trying to get this passed and working with this PAC set up by the former District 87 Superintendent Barry Riley, who, by the way, makes a pension of over $200,000 a year. I can't begin to say that enough. And it wouldn't bother me so much if there was some it's like the left is all about equity, right? If Peoria Public School the superintendent was making about the same, I wouldn't be saying anything. But he's making half, and he's managing 3 times the schools that Barry Riley did. And, I always say it's the pension stupid. It's stupid. We have an unfunded pension liability, uh, billions of dollars, billions of dollars. And of course, they're going to want more sales tax so that way their pensions are secure and their salaries can increase. And when I say there, I mean not the teachers, the district administrators, the fat cats at the top. And that's what this is all about. And that's what the last tax increase was about. And that. They said, oh, the kids, the extracurriculars, they're going to take, sports away from the kids. And they convinced you to vote for Unit 5 tax increases that largely went to district administrator salaries and to salaries. So, they say, oh, this is going to go towards public safety. This is going to go towards, it's so inexpensive to train teachers to do for locks and things like that at the school, to lock the doors. And that's what things like that should be going on. And things are going on there at all the districts, the area districts, where they've got school resource officers, they've got doors. They could always use more, but it's kind of inexpensive. I've actually looked into the numbers of bringing in maybe a group to train teachers on how to do tourniquets and to do, real life active shooter training. And, at the State House, in Springfield, they hate that kind of stuff. They hate when you do real life training in an active shooter situation and you actually prepare your teachers. They say that's traumatic for teachers and students to, prepare for an active shooter situation. They don't want to do that. They would rather just invest in all kinds of locks and whatever. That's fine. It's more, how do I say, realistic to, prepare for an active shooter situation, not be a sitting duck, and actually know how to do things like a tourniquet and know when the active shooter is coming and fight against, an active shooter in some situations, and there's trained professionals out there that could come into the school fairly inexpensively. I think it's like $5,000 or something like that for them to come into the school, do an 8-hour day with the teachers, and train some teachers on how to, what really would prevent active shooters? Giving a couple of teachers some guns. It's funny how all the mass shootings happen in no gun zones, right? But anyway, so they're saying that this sales tax increase would go to public safety, more school resource officers, better better locks on the doors or whatever. They can't promise that. They probably won't. Okay. I would say I'd say 7 times out of 10, the tax increases go to district administrator salaries. How do I know that? Well, how do you know that? How do you know they're lying to me? They've done it before. Okay, every time they get a tax increase, it just goes directly to their salaries. And not to mention, I've got the numbers here that shows that, over the course from 2019 to 2025, I think it's like an 87% increase nationwide of district administrators in school districts. So that's growing. The district administrators, the amount of district administrators in school districts, they're growing, but the student enrollment is dwindling. Okay, so this is interesting. The McLean County Sheriff's Office actually looking into election interference, alleged election interference that's happening. Where, are they using taxpayer dollars to promote this? Are they working with this PAC? Multifaceted governments, the regional office of education, all the districts, are they working together with this PAC set up by Barry Riley and Patrick Maneri is his name. I gotta double check. I think he's running for Unit 5. But are they working with this PAC that was set up in order to pass this sales tax referendum and get this, and if that's the case, they shouldn't be doing that, working with the PAC and trying to, promote this using government time. The government officials should not be in the business of promoting ballot initiatives. They should be focused on, teaching your kids, right? Get out of politics. You're working for the kids. If you're pushing for ballot initiatives and or candidates, you have to register as a PAC or a committee, a political action committee. All right, got so much to get to. I want to get to the school district in Illinois. It is Deerfield, 13-year-old allegedly forced to change in a locker room. I've talked about this earlier in the week, but Abigail Wheeler, she's an Illinois teen that kind of faced a similar situation, a little bit different in Springfield. Remember the story in YMCA? She was kicked off her swim team. She was forced to change in front of an adult man. She was subsequently kicked out or banned from the YMCA as well, her local YMCA. So we're going to get to that. Chuck Schumer is also arguing that the real issue here is that you and too many Americans, you guys are getting too frustrated when it comes to your government taking a portion of your hard-earned income. And the problem is you're just too selfish. And why would you want your hard-earned income? Okay, so that's what Chuck Schumer is arguing. And it's just like, when are these guys going to learn that is not a winning argument, Chuck? What do you honestly think calling taxpayers selfish, for not wanting their hard-earned income to go to government officials? Do you honestly think that that's a winning strategy for the Democrats? It's probably what lost you the election, my guy. So lost the Democrats the election. So I'm going to get to that. Plus Dylan Mulvaney, that's today's show. That's the top story. I thought it was so funny. I love poking fun at Dylan Mulvaney and what he does. He has this podcast now. A couple of weeks ago, he launched a book, and he's doing this weird media tour thing. They're shoving it down your throats. Okay, this LGBTQ wokeism. They keep shoving it down your throat, and it's not going to work. But his podcast is more cringe. Think cringy, but then think even cringier. Okay, I'm going to play the trailer for you, and you are going to just be like, your skin is going to be itching. All right, so we're going to get to all of it, but let's start with this Illinois mom expressing her frustrations after her 13-year-old daughter was allegedly forced to share a locker room with a biological boy in these Deerfield public schools. So this is a public school in Illinois, and she has filed a federal civil rights complaint over this incident. Her name is Nicole Georges. So she claimed that the district is violating President Donald Trump's executive order. The executive order is titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. This is that executive order, and it also extends to locker room policies, bathroom policies, keeping women's spaces, and men's spaces, men's spaces. This is a quote from Nicole, she, as in her daughter, came home frightened and was extremely upset. And I asked her to talk with her teachers to find out more information, after she was forced or after this transgender individual was there in the locker room, she had to change in front of him, and she was extremely frightened, extremely upset, went home to mom and talked about it. And she said, well, why don't you talk with your teachers, find out more information? She was told by the administration that the student can use the bathroom as well as the female locker room. Okay. The female bathrooms, female locker rooms, because they identify as a female now. Okay, so this individual, this trans boy, this biological man or male, okay, biological boy, identifies as a female now, and that's why he's allowed to change in the locker room and the bathroom. Nicole, she received a phone call from the school principal, and he verbally reiterated that the school's legal counsel said that the student can use the locker room and the bathroom. And she said I expressed to the principal that they were in a clear violation of federal policy. And Nicole had called on the school at a school board meeting to do the right thing and give these girls their locker rooms back. Okay. Now, I talked about this story early in the week, but this is adding another layer to this. It just keeps happening in the state of Illinois, despite the efforts of these women and these girls to keep their spaces safe. Abigail Wheeler, if you guys remember the story, it was from a couple of years ago. She was kicked off her swim team, and she was banned from the YMCA after raising concerns about men undressing in Springfield locker rooms, in the Springfield locker room. So she raised concerns. She was banned from the YMCA after raising concerns. She was kicked off her swim team. Wheeler said that Illinois is hard-headed, and I agree with her. Yes, we are totally hard-headed. They will not pass anything. They tried to pass legislation. I think it was, what is it called? It was the Biological Act or something like that. Basically what it did, it just defined in Illinois these terms, men and women. And they didn't want to pass it, the Democrats, and the bill died. It was House Bill 5830, and it was called the Classification by Biological Sex Act, okay? So Wheeler supported that legislation, and women's rights advocates supported that legislation. Republicans supported that legislation, but they unsuccessfully, they didn't pass it. They did not, all their attempts to pass that failed. So Abigail says, quote, in regards to this situation, I know exactly how this girl feels. I had to go through the exact same thing. And in my locker room, I was changing with a man. And at the time, Abigail was like 16 years old. And she goes, I feel sorry for her that she had to go through this, for girls who are forced, not only forced, but escorted. So this is part of that story, the Deerfield Public Schools. She was allegedly the little girl, 13 years old, was escorted by the school administrators into the locker room, back into the locker room to change in front of this boy without the parents' consent. So messed up. So this is what Wheeler said. I'm proud of the mom. It's outrageous that these parents have to go through this and stick up for their kids. It's an outrageous thing that we're having to go through. Telling girls this outrageous thing is telling girls that they don't have a right to their locker room, that they don't have a right to a safe space, and they have to change in front of a boy or a man if he's present. Wheeler explained also, this was interesting, the Deerfield school policy. So it says no student is required to change in the locker room. So they can go into the bathroom, which, is kind of probably hard for this 13-year-old at the Deerfield school, because this individual can go into the bathroom, can go into the locker room. So wherever she goes, she runs into possibly a man when she's, going to go change. So she can't run from him. But the school obviously doesn't align with that policy because they were forcing the girls to go in there and change. So they escorted them back into the locker room to change in there. And obviously they're not even in alliance with their own policy. Like they're not they're not even following their own school policy, because no student is required to change in front of others in a locker room. They can go change in the bathroom. Now, she shouldn't have to go change in a separate bathroom. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But that school policy is you don't have to go change in the locker rooms if you don't want to at Deerfield. You can use a separate bathroom. You don't have to change in front of anybody. But she shouldn't have to use a separate bathroom. You're allowing a boy to come in there. You're to take that spot, and you're taking away a right that this little girl deserves. All right, I got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about Chuck Schumer. Yes, if you did not hear in the beginning of the show, I did announce the McLean County Sheriff's Office investigating what appears to be like election interference, the school district's multifaceted intergovernmental conspiracy, really. That's what it appears to be among McLean County school districts to try to convince you to vote for the sales tax increase. They could possibly be working with this PAC, Barry Riley, Patrick Maneri running for school board, and is the treasurer of this PAC. The PAC has already received $8,000 from Unit 5 Teachers Union and several others. Now, probably more money than we can even see right now, because any donation, I think less than $1,000, doesn't have to be reported until after the election. So yeah, there's probably a lot of shadow donors, as I like to call them, and we won't get to see those donors and who supports this. But I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. So insane, Kathy. Thanks for joining me this morning. Keep men out of women's locker rooms and follow the rule of our government. Stop federal funding in schools in any state that doesn't comply. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this poor girl, she was not only forced, but she was escorted back into this. That's where it gets really weird, especially without parental consent, and the fact that it goes against the school's own policy, where the kids are not required to change in the locker rooms. They can actually change in a separate bathroom, but they were escorted back in. And, Abigail Wheeler, a couple of years ago, she faced the same thing. So what we're starting to see here in the state of Illinois is a pattern. You're starting to see 16, 13-year-olds. And now it's getting worse, because now 13-year-old school districts, they're doing this. It was the YMCA, which private business, right? You can argue that they have their policies, right? But now your tax dollars are going towards policies that outright escort little girls into rooms with little boys, and forces little girls to change in front of little boys. I mean, this is like gross. I don't know about you, but I have a twin brother. We got to an age we were sharing a room. But we got to an age, like, we were sharing a room until we were like 5, 6, something like that. But we got to an age where it wasn't going to work anymore. And after 6 years old, we parted ways, and we had our own separate rooms, or at least I went to go join my older sister. Okay, my older sister wanted her own room, but couldn't do that. Okay, so I went and I joined my older sister, and shared a room with her. My parents understood that, hey, these are kids, and they're of a different sex. You can't do that. Even in your own home, you don't do that. You don't have little girls and little boys sharing rooms a lot of the times, right? And this is just so disgusting. where they're confusing the children. These are 13-year-olds, but what is it going to be next? Are they going to force 5-year-olds to change in front of each other? Like, this is so weird and bizarre. So not to mention Abigail Wheeler, she was banned from this private business, from the YMCA, and then kicked off her swim team. And then she had already tried to pass legislation. It didn't pass. The Republicans attempted to pass it along with a lot of women's rights advocates, but they didn't get anywhere with it. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Chuck Schumer, Chuckles. He is out there blaming you, the taxpayer. He's saying that you are just greedy and you don't want your hard-earned cash going to the government, and how could you? He's made it very clear how much he disapproves of those who prefer to keep their hard-earned money. So he disagrees with you. He disapproves of you, and there's nothing wrong with not wanting to see your money spent on the government, or spent by the government on things that you would never approve of. Okay, transing the mice is just one example, one of several examples. And what was it? I think Barack Obama, he was the one who actually kind of started this Doge idea, Department of Government Efficiency. He kind of started this because he was out there saying that the government has way too many websites, that they were paying for like these musicians, or these it was like a small little group of fiddlers. And back when he was president, he raised issues with things like this all of the time. So I don't understand why all of a sudden, Chuck Schumer and the left, they're screaming at the sky about how, how could you do this? Government workers are being laid off. You're selfish. Why wouldn't you want to give up your hard-earned money for me? It's because you're doing things that I would never approve of, and I don't want my hard-earned money going towards those things, and I don't want it going towards you, who doesn't do anything, like most government officials, right? So we're gonna play Chuckles, Chuck Schumer, and we're gonna get to all kinds of things. I told you Patrick Manieri, I was gonna look that up. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cats. Yes, that is some big news this morning coming across the desk. The McLean County Sheriff's Office investigating what appears to be an election interference conspiracy, really, among McLean County schools to try to convince you to vote for the sales tax increase. Patrick Manieri, we know he is with Unit 5 School Board. Well, he's a candidate for Unit 5 School Board. He doesn't have a contested election, from my understanding. So he is the treasurer of this PAC. So the PAC is set up with Barry Riley, the former District 87 superintendent, and they're trying to get this past the sales tax referendum. Like I said, you're going to have a really hard time passing this if people are educated on, what taxes are coming down the line. Okay, in 2026, likely we're going to have a grocery tax. The local sales tax is probably going to go up in 2026. We pay in McLean County higher than the statewide averages, higher than the national average for property taxes. Okay, and the bulk of your property tax bill goes to the school. So keep that in mind. You've been giving these school districts in McLean County lots of money, because you pay more in property taxes than pretty much a lot of the other counties, a lot of the other municipalities in Illinois statewide. Okay, you're paying significantly higher property taxes than the statewide average. Okay, the tax rate is much lower for the averages there for statewide. So, and nationwide, because the state of Illinois has already the highest property taxes, I think, in the nation, or second highest. Okay, so we're already paying a lot as Illinois, but even on top of that, you're paying more than most Illinoisans in McLean County. Okay, so that's all going to the school district, your property tax bill, and them claiming that the sales tax revenue generated is going to be mostly commuters, people who come into McLean County. That's not something you want to brag about, because that's kind of like taxation without really, like, you're not the benefactor of the taxation. Okay, you're not or the beneficiary of the taxation. So if you're commuting in from, say, like Logan County or Will County or Livingston County, right, and you're coming in into McLean County, you're purchasing things, and then you go back home, you're not reaping the benefits of that sales tax because you're not in the school district. Okay, so even if you don't have kids in the district, you kind of benefit from the school district if it's a good school district, right? Because your property values will go up if it's a great district. And then your value, your total assessed value is going to go up if it's a great district, and you can sell your house for a little more, if it's a good school district. So you would benefit even if, you don't have kids in the district. And to charge sales tax on people who don't have kids in the school, I mean, people are paying exorbitantly high property taxes, and some of these people don't even have kids in the district. Okay, you have to keep that in mind when you're setting these tax rates. That a lot of these people don't reap any kind of direct benefit from the school district. You might reap some sort of indirect benefit, but like I said, the school districts are failing. So a lot of people are going to see that, District 87 is lower than most of the statewide standards. Okay, they're not meeting the statewide standards when it comes to doing math at a proficient level, doing reading at a proficient level. The students are not. They have a 77% graduation rate, which is lower than the statewide or lower than the state standard. So, yeah, that's that's the sales tax increase. Okay, those are all the arguments, kind of really against the sales tax. They're bragging that a lot of the sales tax revenue generated is going to come from commuters. That's probably not something you want to broadcast. It's kind of like, I don't know, taxation without really benefiting from that taxation, and they want to promote that. We're not going to have any tourists. We're not going to have anybody come in here because they know that, hey, if I buy my coffee in McLean County when I could just buy it, from Livingston or from Logan, and I could buy my coffee there, it's going to be cheaper. Then they're just going to do it there, and you're destroying the economy now because people know that McLean County's higher. Now, the word's going to get out that McLean County's higher, and people are going to fill up and get their coffee in different counties before they get into here, if they've got to come here for whatever reason. So I want to talk a little bit about Chuck Schumer, Chucky. He has made it very clear that he disapproves of you, and by you, I mean people who prefer to keep their hard-earned money and not give it to the government to be spent on things that nobody ever needs or nobody ever would want, nobody would ever approve of. For example, transing the mice. And this isn't just a Donald Trump thing. I want to make that very clear. There's a viral clip out there. I'd have to try to find it. It's Barack Obama talking about government waste. He actually appointed Joe Biden, out of all people, hilarious. Barack Obama appointed Joe Biden, the vice president at the time during his administration, to find government inefficiencies. And he talked about in this video how the government was paying for a musician, a band. It was a band of fiddlers. And he said, that's obviously government waste. We have way too many government websites. We need to consolidate those websites. We're paying to keep these websites online. And Barack Obama was actually the one who originally, he was the one who was talking about government efficiency. He didn't do it. He talked out of talked out of the side of his mouth and did something else. Talked out of his butt, and he did something totally different, Barack Obama. And obviously, putting Vice President Joe Biden in charge of that, not a good move. But here's Chuckles. I want to play this here.
All by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, the land and water that I own, or my employees? They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay, good.
Okay, so that was Chuck Schumer. And, it's people like him, why we made the phrase taxation without representation a rallying cry, okay? It's people like that, because if Chuck Schumer had his way, he'd tax you into oblivion, and he would love it if you didn't even vote for your representatives. He spent his entire career, folks, in public office, much like Cody Hendricks, by the way. I mean, he's a young guy, and he's never, from what I can tell, never even really worked in the private sector. And I actually saw this mailer from the Hendricks campaign, and it's hilarious to call Dan Brady a MAGA supporter. When you've got Democrats who just scored a historic low approving, and Donald Trump did well in this area in McLean County, much better than he did in 2020, 2016, and 2024. He got a substantial amount of the vote, okay, in McLean County, and to be out there calling him like a MAGA supporter, you're only helping him, Cody. But Cody Hendricks, a young guy, and he's already spent a lot of his, all of his time, his entire career really in public office, from what I can tell. And, he has yet to work in the private sector. Chuck Schumer has yet to work in the private sector. And it's no wonder, Chuck Schumer, he wants his salary funded by your hard-earned cash because he doesn't want to go into the private sector. And he votes on laws to take away your salary so that way he can keep his salary, because his salary is funded by your hard-earned cash, okay? Subsequently, he loathes anyone that says, hey, I want representation in this. I want to vote in my representatives, and I want to have a say who gets my hard-earned cash. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that because he wants to be there forever, and he wants to just take your hard-earned cash. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Cities 92.9. Hey, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be getting to Dylan Mulvaney here in just a second, because Dylan Mulvaney, he's got a new book, and as if his new book wasn't bad enough, he's got a new podcast now. And he released this really bizarre music video. It's like a trailer to his podcast, I guess. And it's so much worse than you would think. Dylan Mulvaney, he has made millions at this point by making fun of women. And by reducing women to pink dresses and makeup, and he's reduced what women are actually, what we're all actually all about, and he's made millions off of mocking women. And it's just truly disgusting. I think he actually hates women. I think that he's one of these people who, and most transgender men, I would say it's not so much even gender dysphoria. It is a deep hatred for women. So, and I know that sounds crazy. Well, Kat, they become a woman. They are typically below average men who become transgender. Okay, they're below average. Um, and what do you mean by below average? I mean they suck at life. Okay, they eat Funyuns on the couch. They live in mommy's basement. They can never get asked out by a girl, or never. They don't have the courage to ask out a girl. They don't want to socialize with anyone. Um, and they're typically awful people. Okay, that's what I mean by below average men. They have no confidence, and they don't want to work. Okay, lazy men, and women aren't attracted to below average men. Okay, um, and what winds up happening is they say, well, if I can't get a woman, I guess I'll become one and mock women. And if I can't get a woman, then I'll just be a woman, and it's this deranged hatred that they have for women because they don't want to hang out with below average men. So they think maybe if I become, or even it's even more creepier than that, and maybe if I become a woman, women will start hanging out with me. Dylan Mulvaney is like a best friend who happens to be a woman. Um, and she hangs out with him all of the time. He hangs out with women all of the time. And they're gorgeous women. Okay. And Dylan is the worst, and I hate to say it, the worst kind of person, in that they prey on women under this deceitful. I really don't even think that there's gender dysphoria going on here. I think that he saw an opportunity to make millions. A man saw an opportunity to make millions in a very how do I say this? Non work ethic type way, where it's a lazy way to make millions. You just mock women. You put on a skirt, you prance around, you talk about girlhood, you make books, you make podcasts, and on top of that, it's a win-win for him because he gets to hang out with all these gorgeous, famous actresses and women. And I really question the authenticity of this guy's gender dysphoria to begin with. I don't think that it's real at all. There's some people out there who I do truly believe have a gender dysphoria and they need help. They need to seek psychological help and they need the truth. But this guy, I don't think that that's the case here. I think that this is a man who wanted to make millions off of making fun of women because he hated them, because they wouldn't talk to him. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. We are going to get to Dylan Mulvaney. He had a new book, he's got a new podcast, and he released this really bizarre music video. And this guy has made millions off of making fun of women. And we're going to get to that here in just a second. But I want to talk about Chuck Schumer. He's saying things like, oh, you're selfish because you want your hard-earned money and you don't want it taken away from you to be spent on things like transing the mice, okay, or studying trans mice, okay. How dare you want to keep a majority of your cash that you work for, right? Because the government knows how to spend it better than you. Spend the fruits of your labor. So were these statements by Chuck Schumer, was he trying to win over the Democrats that they lost in the past election in 2024? Because I don't think that this is going to help them swing those voters back to their side. I really don't. So I say, go ahead, Chuck. Go off. Do whatever you want, or say whatever you want about me being selfish because I want to keep my hard-earned cash. Yeah, I don't think it does you any favors. I don't think it does your party any favors. How out of touch can you be? Does he really truly believe that this is a winning strategy to mock people who despise taxes and hate having their hard-earned cash taken? Actually, when you look at the research, there was a Pew Research study done. When you look at the research, most Americans feel like they pay more than their fair share in taxes. Okay, majority of Americans feel like they already pay way too much in taxes. So I don't know like while Schumer mocks everyone and anyone who gets in the way of government's largest source of revenue, which is your tax money, this is very, very unpopular. This could not be more unpopular, and I don't know why he thinks that this is a winning strategy, going after people, calling them selfish because they don't like taxes. We know that taxes are deeply unpopular, especially at this point, because people can't afford things. People can't go to the grocery store and fill up their carts anymore because taxation is so bad. So we can only hope that the left continues lecturing Americans on stealing their hard-earned funds, stealing their funds. Okay, actually, it's your funds, and they're going to sit there and cry and say, "Oh, well, government employees, they do public servants, blah blah blah." No, this is going to keep you from winning elections, man. And I can only hope that this continues because that is not a winning strategy. I do want to get to Dylan Mulvaney here. If you thought Dylan's book was bad, his podcast is worse. How do I know that? He released a music video that's very cringy. It's more cringe than you think it would be. And like I was telling folks on the stream, you guys can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Dylan Mulvaney is one of those transgender individuals who I think is very, very inauthentic. Now, I do think that there are some individuals who experience like gender dysphoria, maybe have a hormonal imbalance, and they're struggling with that. I really do think that people struggle with gender dysphoria. Now, what that should be met with is telling that individual the truth that, hey, you are a man, hey, you are a woman. And telling that individual that your biological sex is what your gender is, okay? And telling those people the truth, okay, to prevent death. I really do believe that more people should tell transgender people the truth so that way we don't have this huge suicide rate. Because when you lie to somebody and you tell them that, yes, Timmy, you're actually Tammy, and yes, little Timmy, you're actually a girl, and when that reality doesn't align with what's in their head, it causes turmoil, and eventually little Timmy's going to kill himself statistically. So I think that we have to do right by these people, because when you lie to somebody, it hurts. Like when somebody's lying to you, it hurts you. It makes you feel really bad. That's why transgender people kill themselves at a rate that's just jaw-dropping. It's because when somebody lies to you, it hurts your self-esteem. It hurts you as a person. And the most love you could give these people is by telling them the truth. Telling transgender people, no, you are not the opposite sex. That is not reality. And being honest with them. Dylan Mulvaney is not one of these individuals who has gender dysphoria. I really don't think so. I think that he saw an opportunity. I think he's a below average man and had a really hard time picking up chicks, okay, because he was a below average man. Now he has all the women around him. He's got actresses, famous actresses, beautiful actresses. He spends most of his time with a female best friend. And I think that Dylan saw an opportunity here to make millions by mocking women. And he is making millions by mocking women. He has a podcast. He has a book. He makes millions from sponsorships on his TikToks. And I think that he's one of these below average men who wanted to get around women more and didn't want to, do the thing that makes women attracted to you, which is just, be a good person. Don't sit on your mom's couch eating Funyuns, and don't be a jerk, right? So he didn't want to do that. He wanted to continue his lifestyle, but he also wanted to make money and have women around him. And he found almost like a loophole, and he exploited it, and he mocked females in order to get to where he's at. So I think he's dangerous. I really do. I think that people like this are very dangerous because they are manipulating women into hanging out with them. They're manipulating the system into getting all kinds of money by making fun of people. So I'm going to be right back with that next on Conservative Cat. Allegedly? What do you mean? I don't know when I said allegedly, but Yeah, this is Dylan Mulvaney. Here we go. Woohoo! We're gonna be getting to that here in just a second. But yes, I don't know what you're talking about there, Kevin. Allegedly. So we're gonna be chatting a little bit about the McLean County Sheriff's Office investigating what appears to be a conspiracy amongst the McLean County schools to try to convince you to vote for the sales tax increase. Are they working with this PAC? Are they doing it on government time? Did they set up this PAC themselves? I mean, this is just kind of insanity to me, that they are promoting the sales tax so hard, and they do it just so blatantly. So like every other day, I think Unit 5 posts on their social media that I'm sure somebody at the district is getting paid to run. Okay, so getting paid means with your tax dollars. Okay, these government officials get paid with your tax dollars. Teachers get paid with your tax dollars at public schools. And you're paying for this, and then you're paying for somebody to actually make these posts online, okay, and make these Facebook posts. On top of that, there was also an issue where they asked voters to approve a referendum, the 1 cent tax referendum, and they put that on their district websites. And then they subsequently, after being called out, they changed the wording on their website. I think that's so funny. When they're caught red-handed, they try to cover it up very quickly. That actually happened with Bloomington Body. We talked about that the other day, where she, came out and she goes, Christian nationalists aren't welcome at my business. Christian nationalists, Joe Biden wouldn't be welcomed at your business, because guess what? Joe Biden puts his hand right there on the Holy Bible and swears an oath, right? So most people in this country are Christian nationalists. The fringy left, they're not Christian nationalists. And all Christian nationalism is, like I said, is this simple belief that our values should be the way we govern, or Christian values should be the way that we govern in government. And most people believe that if you believe murder is wrong, that means you're a Christian nationalist. Okay, so you believe in the morality of Christianity, and you believe that morality should be what we stick by when crafting law and when governing. Anyway, so it's funny, Body of Bloomington, they changed their website right away when they were called out about how they provide alcohol, or they allow alcohol into their building. And I questioned, I was like, do they have liquor license? Do they have adult entertainment licenses to be hosting private parties with pole dancing and liquor? And subsequently they changed their website to reflect not alcoholic beverages or adult beverages, as they said, but snacks and beverages. And they took the adult word out of there to indicate, you can bring snacks and beverages and adult beverages. They had that on there, and then they changed their website when they were called out for having that on that website. I don't know about you, but I don't know many fitness clubs. They claim to be a fitness club, right? Where it's like pole dancing and, it's all about fitness or whatever. And from 2013, I think, until about 2020, when this management changed over, I would say that establishment actually was a fitness. Like, there's a place for pole dancing, I guess. It's not my cup of tea, but you're always going to have these niche audiences who like to pole dance, bar, ballet, and that's the very tricky line, because you don't want to outlaw ballet. You don't want to outlaw like trapeze or anything like that. Circus type dancing. You don't want to outlaw belly dancing, things like that. But when you start introducing kids and alcohol into the mix, that's where I start to raise my eyebrows a little bit, right? Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. I'm going to get to this video here. This is Dylan Mulvaney's new video. It's like a trailer for his podcast. He's got a new podcast out there. He's got a book, and like I said, he's made millions mocking women. This is just more of it here.
In the shower, on a walk, the Dylan Hour, feeling sweet, feeling sour. I feel nothing. The Dylan Hour. My couch is open. It's better than therapy. All you soccer moms, all your theys and thems, all your bottom boys, my bisexual femmes. Come one and all, disassociate with me. It's free. Grab a drink or two or three. You have no friends. All good, you got me. It's the Dylan Love ya.
I'm sorry. It's just so cringy. It's cringier than I had thought it was going to be. It was so hard to sit through, folks. I'm sorry I made you sit through it. So it's like a show tuny type. It looks like a 1960s, he's got like 1960s vibe going on. I don't understand how anyone would want to choose to watch this. But the producers believe otherwise. So here's the description of the podcast. Are you ready? The Dylan Hour is a delightful 1960s inspired pink convection of a podcast. Life can be stressful and everyone needs time to unwind and have a little fun. So set your worries aside, grab a drink or a mocktail and join the party. And it's just getting started. So in other words, what he's doing, he's reducing females or girlhood, womanhood to this 1960s inspired pink confection. So it's like all pink and eyelashes and makeup, and he has made millions off of mocking the females. That's what he's done. And like I said, it's deeply concerning. Because you have men like this who actually aren't gender dysphoria at all. Maybe even the people who are going into these locker rooms, they just want to be around girls. And I think he was a below average man. No female wanted to talk to him. He didn't have a whole lot of friends, and you can kind of tell by this podcast here. He says, "Have no friends. I'm here for you." So he knows what it's like to have no friends. And what he did was he capitalized on this transgender thing and made millions off of it. And he pranced around in a skirt and he tried to pretend to embody femininity. And, when you're a predator like this, or like when you're preying on women and you want to be around women, but they don't want to be around you, you try to make yourself a little bit more approachable, and women are definitely going to be more if you're another woman, I'm going to be more approachable to you because you're not a threat to me if you're a woman, right? And it's just so bizarre. And he will never be anything but a man. And the sooner he realizes this, the better off he's going to be. And I don't know. I just don't think that a lot of people are going to be watching this. So asked by Paper Doll author, and that's his book, Paper Doll. He just came out with a book, Mulvaney. Asked by Paper Doll author Mulvaney what he wants to tackle next in his career, Locke responded, I want to play a macho straight man in this action film. So this is the first episode of the podcast. It's called The Dylan Hour, and he has like this actor on with him. And I'm sure you've never heard of this individual, Joe Locke. He has this Joe Locke individual on, and he says the first, if you were to, what's the next step in your career? Joe Locke responded, I want to play a macho straight man in an action film. Who listens to this sort of crap, really? It's so weird. He says, so Joe Locke in this podcast, he also says that he started working out with a personal trainer in order to be a macho man. And I think that this is pretty telling. Like, it goes back to what I was saying. Dylan in this Joe Locke character, I would imagine that they would want nothing more than to be an above average man or even an average man. But they know that they can't because that actually takes work, dedication. And if you're a below average man, it's just easier to pretend you're a woman and make millions that way and mock women. And then women are around you because you appear not to be threatening, or you're not a threat to them anymore, if you're a woman. And they, are like, no, I don't want to be around you. But then you change yourself in order to get them around you. So it's just so clear to me by this first episode, or at least the little clips I saw of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm sorry. There's no way I'm doing that. That you've got these two guys who would want nothing more than to be above average or to be a macho straight man. Okay. But they're not. And they know that they never will be. And that bothers them. So then they, go towards the whole gender thing. All right, I got to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat. welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, 7:05 a.m. Man, we had some crazy thunderstorms yesterday, didn't we? Now it's freezing outside, and I actually woke up this morning to a little bit of flurries. There's some flurries outside, so you might get like a wintry mix today. I think that it's going to warm up again. Hopefully it's going to warm up again. But yeah, we're having some weird weather lately. Yesterday it was really weird. It was like sunny, then it wasn't. And then it was a little bit sunny. And then like all of a sudden the wind picked up, tornado warnings. It was insane. As always, Cities 92.9 has your severe weather coverage. Follow us on social media as well for up-to-date posts. And we get all of our posts from the National Weather Service. And we are on top of it every single time there's severe weather. So follow us on social media. And always tune in. We've got the updates live. So I want to get to Tim Walz here. Timmy Walz, Tampon Tim. I want to get to him because Tim Walz, he celebrated the fact that there are Democrats, leftists, domestic terrorists. I'm going to call them what they are. He celebrated that there's domestic terrorists out there terrorizing people with Teslas, Tesla families, and employees. And Elon Musk, he completely just roasts Tim Walz after the failed candidate celebrates these Tesla domestic terrorists just and their actions. So I'm going to get to that. Tampon Tim also says, hey, you better fear his masculinity. He was on a podcast with Governor Gavin Newsom, and he also said that you fear his masculinity as a Trump supporter, and you could totally get your butt kicked by him. So that's what he talked about on the Gavin Newsom podcast. We're going to get to that. Plus, this is a big one. You guys are going to want to stick around for this. Donald Trump and Putin had a phone call. And the media is out there, saying all these lies that phone call was, a miss, and that Donald Trump is weak, and they're calling Donald Trump weak, and that Putin made Trump wait like over an hour to have this phone call, which just isn't true. And that this was nothing. This phone call, what resulted out of this phone call. There was so much that happened in Ukraine with Ukraine and Russia, this conflict. There was prisoner swaps. There was a ceasefire for 30 days. There were prisoners of war swapped. And then there was also 23 wounded soldiers that were given back to Zelensky and given back to Ukraine. So there's so many good things that came out of just one phone call with Putin. And, while we're working on a more comprehensive ceasefire, this is definitely something to celebrate, because we're talking about 30 days, no firing, no war, 30 days of peace while they work on a more comprehensive ceasefire. So this is a win, definitely a win. And the media is saying that it's not. They're calling Trump weak. They're saying that Putin was making fun of him before the call, and that he, made Trump wait. This is just total nonsense. And I'm going to give you the truth, okay, about what's out there. So for reasons only known to political consultants trying to squeeze money out of Tampon Tim, they are trying to convince him that he is still, he's still got a future in politics. The only people probably telling him he has a future in politics are these consultants who want money out of him, okay, these political consultants. So he has no future in politics. Tim Walz is all over the place. He is trying to get as many media appearances as possible out there. He got on the Gavin Newsom podcast. He's also, doing like stand-up, I guess. I don't know where he was at, but it looks like he's doing stand-up. He's got like a little stool and everything, and he's like poking jokes at Elon Musk. So he's everywhere, because political consultants who are squeezing money out of him tell him that he's as a future in politics. Dude, you do not have a future in politics. You're done. Okay, don't even attempt to make a 2028 run at it, because it's going to be embarrassing for you. He is giving performances, and he's celebrating Elon Musk, the CEO, his failing business, because, people have a different political opinion than Elon Musk, and that's why his business is suffering. Okay, so he celebrates this, and he thinks it's hilarious to see Tesla stock falling. Then Elon, of course, responded. We'll get to his response. But the billionaires who control the Democrat Party, they have told these Democrats that, hey, you have to get out there and call Elon Hitler. Elon is your new boogeyman. And the billionaires who control the Democrats say, hey, go out there and, rip on Elon and make him out to be Hitler. Musk, he's trying to dismantle through Doge the bureaucracy, and they have spent decades putting this bureaucracy in place, okay? And they don't want to see it crumble, because if it crumbles down to the ground, it's going to be really hard to build back up again, okay? Actually, Governor J.B. Pritzker kind of admitted that in a recent agriculture roundtable. He was talking about these programs that are being cut. They've built up a bureaucracy, and once you start cutting it and once you start dismantling the bureaucracy, it's going to be really hard to get it back to where it used to be. And they want the bureaucracy, and they've spent decades putting it in place, and that's why they're so mad about Elon Musk, okay? And that's why they're calling him Hitler, is because he's going after their livelihoods. And they've spent decades building up a bureaucracy, and that they don't have to actually work for a living. And they like that. They like taking taxpayer dollars. We talked about Chuck Schumer. He's part of the bureaucracy, right? They like not having to work, and they like you paying for their existence, okay? And they don't want to see it go away. And so I'm going to play this. Here we go. He's sympathizing with these, I'm going to call them domestic terrorists, okay, who are vandalizing these Tesla dealerships and are blowing cars up, setting them on fire. And he's very he's not thinking about the Tesla employees. He's not thinking about people who have investment stock in Tesla, okay, their 401ks. He's not thinking about those people. This is actually hurting a lot of families, okay? The domestic terrorism that's going on. So take a look.
Get a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you. Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling.
Okay, I wanted to play that. That's Tim Walz, and Elon Musk responded. He says when he needs to smile, he looks at a photo of Vice President J.D. Vance, and it's a reminder that Weird Walls is nowhere near the White House. So this is what Elon threw out there on X. He goes, sometimes when I need a little boost, I look at J.D. Vance's portrait in the White House. Thank the Lord. Roasted. So Tim Walz, he's there, celebrating these people who are really domestic terrorists, okay? I'm going to get to the definition, the FBI's definition of domestic terrorism here in just a second, but America dodged a bullet. Can we just we dodged a bullet electing Donald Trump and JD Vance? Can we at least agree on that? I know what you're thinking, Kat, the governor who was pro 2020 BLM riots, his wife Gwen said, and I'm not kidding, she would roll up the window in her house to smell the burning rubber of the 2020 BLM riots because it was a sense of nostalgia for her. It was something that made her happy, right? The smell of burning rubber from the everything being lit on fire. So that's what Gwen said. So you're probably wondering, Kat, the governor and his wife, they were pro 2020 BLM riots. They're also, pro attacking a guy's business over his political views. Yes. You'd be correct. Yeah. Real middle-class families, whether they're Tesla employees or people who have stock in their 401k, are affected by this. They're affected by politicians like Tim Walz getting out there and calling Elon Musk Hitler and celebrating these attacks where they are vandalizing dealerships, breaking into places. I mean, I've seen some crazy videos where they're lighting these things on fire, they're exploding. And I'm going to get to the definition of domestic terrorism as it is defined by the FBI. But it's so gross for people like Tim Walz who don't care. They just don't care about any of that going on. The employees, the people with stock. Elon Musk disagrees with them on politics. That's it. And they want to tear him down, and they're going to tear everything down around them because they disagree. Okay, because the Democrats disagree with Elon. That's who the Democrats are. If they disagree with you, they will tear you down. And the right never really does that. So the left, they woke up one day, and they thought masculinity was a problem and that it was toxic. We're talking about Elon Musk here, or not Elon Musk, Tim Walz. We're talking about Tim Walz, and he's out there doing this media tour because somebody's telling him that he has a future in politics. I don't know who. He should stop paying those people. But masculinity is toxic, I guess. So he got out there on Gavin Newsom's podcast and he started talking about how Trump supporters are afraid of his masculinity or are afraid of him. And he says, I think I scare them a little bit. That's why they spend so much time on me. And he talks about this toxic masculinity and this misogynistic behavior and that he wasn't masculine enough for the vice presidency, and that's why, and he says that it's misogynistic of Trump supporters to chalk him up to not being masculine enough for the vice presidency. I don't know. This is such a weird podcast. I'm going to get to this here in just a second, with Tim Walz being on Governor Gavin Newsom's podcast. And I will read, I got to find it, the FBI's definition. And you're going to hear this definition by the FBI as it pertains to domestic terrorism. And you're going to be like, whoa, yeah, that's exactly what this is, what Tesla is doing, or what these people are doing to Tesla and these dealerships. That's exactly, I mean, it's all about ideology. And they're blowing things up that could potentially hurt others, okay, and lighting things on fire and vandalizing and hurting people. That's domestic terrorism when you do it in the name of some sort of ideology. So I'm going to be right back with that. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Smash that like button, folks. Share this out with your friends. We're going to be right back. And I'm going to read that definition that the FBI has for domestic terrorism. And then I also want to talk about the whole masculinity thing with Tim Walz. I'll be right back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Yes, we are going to get to Trump speaking with Putin. It was like a 90-minute phone call, something like that. There is a ceasefire with Ukraine, 30 days. So it's not a total ceasefire. They're working on a more comprehensive one, but this is a win. And the media, they're lying and they're saying that this isn't a win and that Trump got played. Which is just not true. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. But I do want to talk about Tim on Tim here, okay? Because he went on the Gavin Newsom podcast, okay? And he's making his rounds because somebody is telling him that he has a future in politics. And whoever that is, they're just trying to squeeze money out of this guy, okay? So like I said, there's an attack on masculinity. The progressives woke up one day and they said that masculinity is bad and it's toxic. Sure. But here's the problem. The reason why you lost the 2024 election is because you slandered half of the country. You slandered men and they don't like that. Okay. So that's why you lost in 2024. Nonetheless, progressives did everything in their power to emasculate the masses and have done everything in their power, and they're going to continue to do that. And in Tim Walz's case, what he did, he put tampons in men's bathrooms. Okay, so they're emasculating the masses, and it's pathetic that he thinks that he has a future in politics. That alone is just pathetic, but it's also delusional to claim that conservatives fear him because he is comfortable with his masculinity and he's trying to say that Trump voters are misogynistic. So Walz went on the Newsom podcast, slandered Trump voters as misogynistic. And that's not going to, of course, that's not going to do him any favors if he wants a future in politics. Okay. I think he might be running for, there's whispers that he might run in 2028. Good luck, man. So Tampon Tim, on his masculinity, he says that they're scared of me a little bit in my masculinity. And I just think this is hilarious. So direct quote, I think I scare them a little bit, which is why they spend so much time on me. Walz told Gavin Newsom during an episode of the California Governor's New podcast. When Mr. Newsom bursted out into laughter, the Minnesota governor said, "No, I'm serious because they know I can fix a truck and they know I'm not BSing on this." Okay, so that's what he said. So like we Trump supporters, we all understand, that look at him load a shotgun. Okay. The only thing that scares me about Tim Walz is the way that he loads a shotgun. If he loads a shotgun like that, he and somebody else is going to wind up dying. Okay. We don't buy into the whole football coach, the whole act of him being a Midwesterner and a masculine man. Okay. We don't buy into it. And he, says that that we're misogynistic because we don't buy into that, and that they, chalk masculinity up to, and that Trump supporters chalk masculinity up to, trucks and, football coaching and shotguns and things like that, which isn't true. We just know that he has no what's the word, commanding bone in his body, no leadership, no courage. Okay. That's indicative of man leadership, courage, things like that. And we see that as Trump voters. Okay. It's not so much, oh, he can't load a shotgun. It's not so much that he doesn't drive a big enough truck or anything like that. No, we see who you really are, and you have no leadership skills and you have no courage. Okay. And you constantly lie. That's one thing that is very masculine, is men tend not to want to lie. They're all about honor. Women, on the other hand, they'll lie all the time. It's kind of in our biology, right? You'll say, oh, I want to lie because I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, because I don't want to be, threatened by them, or I don't want them to be mad at me. And women will do that. And women tend to lie a little bit more than men. They're really about truth and honor, okay, and standing by their word. That's just a trait of a masculine man. And Tim Walz has been caught in so many lies. He said that some organization endorsed him when they didn't. He said that he was a combat veteran. He wasn't. Yeah, he's been caught in so many lies. And the Minnesota governor, so according to the Washington Free Beacon, the Minnesota governor Tim Walz accused Republicans of misogyny for questioning his masculinity during the 2024 vice presidential run. So this quote from Tim Walz that he told California Governor Gavin Newsom, "We buy their frame on these issues of sexuality, but their whole thing is that they spent all their time on these guys on Fox News saying that Walz is gay, Walz is not masculine, and he doesn't even really coach football. Yeah, well, he's a liar. That's why people on Fox News and Trump supporters said that you didn't actually coach football. It wasn't attacking your masculinity. It was that you lied. And men don't like when they lie, when other men lie. They're all about honor, like I said, and this just goes way back into history, right? You don't lie, and you stick with this code, and you tell the truth. And Walz told the California governor, there's misogyny in here that's happening. Okay, so he goes on and he says, not that I spend much time thinking about this, but it just baffled me how much time they spent attacking me, that I wasn't masculine enough for their vision, for their vision. And he says that he was baffled by people attacking his character. Dude, you lied to people. That's why people attacked you. It's because we were calling you out for your lies. You said that you served in combat. You said that you taught or coached football. You said that you obtained all these endorsements when you didn't. You said that you went to Tiananmen Square. You didn't, right? So, I mean, that you were there during the Tiananmen Square massacre. You weren't, okay? And he just constantly lies, and that's why people were calling him out. But anyway, so he's got some nerve claiming that he's baffled that people attacked his character, which is extremely lacking. Like I said, it's not telling the truth. That's why people were so hung up on Tim Walz, is because he couldn't tell the truth to save his life. Okay, and that's why people attacked him. It's because they attacked the lies he would say. And I think it's kind of interesting, and he's got some nerve claiming, or saying that he's baffled by people who attacked him, because he's the one who spent the entire election calling Donald Trump and his supporters a bunch of Nazis. Okay. So you want to talk about attacks that aren't warranted. Donald Trump, not a Nazi, not Hitler. His supporters, not Nazis, not Hitler. And you, on the other hand, people attacked you and your character because it's open season when you lie like you do, man. So he was on the Gavin Newsom podcast, and he even said that, he goes, yeah, I'm more masculine than these guys ever could be. This is what he said. He goes, I can kick most of their butts. I'm paraphrasing. And it's just so cringy to see this come from Tim Walz, because there's nothing intimidating about him. Most people his age, his size, would not be afraid to fight him. Okay, I'm just saying, he's not very intimidating at all. And remember when they tried to brand him and Kamala Harris as these authentic candidates that were just like you and me? They're not. It's embarrassing that they tried to make these authentic, relatable candidates and make them authentic, relatable candidates. They're just not. He's trying to appeal to men by claiming he's manlier than them. This is a whole new level of cringe. Okay, he's saying that I'm actually manlier than all of these men. I could kick most of their butts. That's what Tim Walz is saying on the Gavin Newsom podcast, and he says they're just scared of my masculinity and how masculine I am. They're reducing my masculinity to beards and trucks and things like that. No, we know you're not masculine, Tim, because you're a liar. Okay, that is not a masculine trait. Leadership, courage, you lack all of it. Okay, your character makes you not masculine. Okay, that's why people say that you're not masculine. It's not because it's not because of your football coaching. It's not because of the camo you wear, the fact that you can't load a gun, none of that. Really, why people attack your masculinity, Tim, is because you are a liar, and that is something that men do not like. and masculine men do not do. So I've got to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about Donald Trump and the phone call. It was a 90-minute phone call with Putin, and the media is out there now saying like, oh, it was totally like he got played, Donald Trump, and there was nothing good that came of that phone call. Actually, right before the phone call, Putin was making Donald Trump wait for hours for the phone call, and they were laughing at him behind his back. Totally misleading, and outright lies from the media. You're not going to get it here on Cities 92.9 Conservative Cat. I'm going to tell you what came of that phone call, and it was actually something to be applauded, and I don't know why we're dismissing this. This is huge news, and it's an incredible thing that Donald Trump did. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Yeah, I think it's so funny that a lot of these Teslas that they're burning and like going into people's driveways, it's a lot of them are Democrats who bought these Teslas, right? So most Republicans probably didn't buy Teslas before. Now they might. But the reason why conservatives, okay, most people, because it's even Teslas, it's hard to find charging stations. It's hard it's not a feasible form of transportation, really, in my mind. This is coming from somebody who loves her, diesel trucks, loves my gas powered trucks, or combustible engines. I love them. Okay. So I will never be caught dead buying an electric vehicle. I'm sorry. That might ruffle some feathers, but I will never do it. I like the way a combustible engine runs. Okay, so leftists, though, they've always bought traditionally the electric vehicles because it's environmentally friendly. So I love what you say here, Bob. I guess smoke burning from these batteries good for the environment now. Yeah. Same thing, burning down targets in 2020 BLM riots. And Tim Walz, he's applauding, of course, the domestic terrorism that's going on with these Teslas. It shouldn't shock you. His wife would roll up the window and talked about this on air, or talked about this in a TV interview. Talked about how she'd roll up the window and just take in all of the burning rubber and the smoke from the BLM riots. And it shouldn't shock you that Tim Walz is also condoning, because that was domestic terrorism as well, going in. And a lot of these, I will never forget this video. It's like so hard. It's burnt into my memory to forget this video that had come from the BLM riots. I think it was, I don't know where it was at exactly, Milwaukee. It was like around the Midwest somewhere. Maybe it was Minnesota. I can't remember exactly, but it was a black business owner. Okay. A black guy. 60s, maybe, older gentleman. He was a business owner, and they took baseball bats, broke the window of his establishment, drug him out of this window. Like it was like it was a door with glass. Okay. And they drug him out and they beat the living hell out of him. Okay. This black business owner, so it's like, wait a second. Isn't this the BLM riots or BLM protests, right? Aren't you guys supposed to be uplifting black voices or whatever? And you're going to drag a black business owner out of his business by force. You're going to bust open his business with a baseball bat and you're going to beat him senseless. This kind of is pointless. And this just goes to show you it has nothing to do with the cause. Okay. They always say that they're for these compassionate causes. We love the environment, right? We love black people. They'll say all of this stuff, but they don't actually mean it. Okay. This is just a facade. And I say this about the Democrat Party all the time. It's the same Democrat Party that wants to enslave black people again. It's just looks different. They are relying on the government, and it's this bureaucracy they've built up on the backs of the black community. The Democrat Party has. Okay, there was no switch that happened. Okay, they have built a bureaucracy on the backs of these on the backs of black people in the black community. And they have made the black community rely on them through this bureaucracy by government handouts, welfare, telling them that they can't even, obtain a voter ID or a driver's license, okay? Telling them that they're too stupid to even do that kind of stuff. This is what they do, you've got the Joe Biden out there saying if he ain't black, or if you voted for Trump, you ain't black, or something like that. I don't know. It's just racism, blatant racism. And it never left the Democrat Party. It just changed into bureaucracy and building this bureaucracy off the backs. And in exchange for giving them pennies, really, welfare, and throwing them pennies when they're collecting up all of the fees from everybody else. They're getting millions, and compared to these guys, they were getting pennies in comparison to the guys that they keep voting into office. So anyway, I don't know why I got on that. BLM riots, the domestic terrorism anarchists, yeah, that's what they are. Woo! Hey, welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. It's a cold morning. Snow showers, maybe. We don't know. I woke up this morning and saw some wintry mix coming down, and I was like, oh. We had some crazy storms. There was tornado warnings. There was tornado watches for the area. So anytime there's severe weather, you can always tune in to Cities 92.9. We've got your back. Yesterday, or a few days ago, Trump talked with Putin. Okay, it was a 90-minute phone call, and what happened ultimately was a ceasefire with Ukraine for 30 days. It's a temporary ceasefire. Now, I want to kind of talk about the misleading claims that the media has made surrounding this phone call. According to Fox News, President Donald Trump described his nearly 2-hour phone call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin at the White House Tuesday at the White House. So he was at the White House when he had the phone call a couple of days ago. And he described it as great. And he did an exclusive Ingram Angle interview. And he said, hey, it was great, the phone call. The conversation between Trump and Putin comes amid efforts to mediate the end of the war after Ukrainian officials agreed to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire earlier in March. Okay, so there's a 30-day ceasefire in March, and this conversation is happening amid a broader, comprehensive ceasefire conversation. Okay, Trump said, "quote We talked about a lot of things toward getting to peace." We talked a lot about a lot of other things as well. And, the left and the media, I repeat myself, they're getting out there and they're making up all of these misleading claims about this phone call. Okay, Jimmy Kimmel got out there and he had some sort of comedic bit where he says, oh, he got played by Putin. And then you've got the media saying, oh, he waited an hour, or Putin made him wait an hour, Donald Trump, to have this conversation, this 90-minute phone call. Putin was laughing at him earlier in the day about making him wait for this phone call, about making Donald Trump wait for the phone call, which is just an outrageous lie. We're going to get to that here in just a second. But I want to tell you about the results of this phone call, okay? Not only did Donald Trump not get played by Putin, but there are quantifiable victories. We can put numbers on these victories. So there is a 175 prison swap. So it was 175 prisoners each, Russia and Ukraine. Okay, so they're swapping prisoners. Okay, so Ukraine gets 175 of their prisoners of war back. Russia gets 175 prisoners of war back on their side. Okay, that's called peace. Okay, I don't know how else you would describe that. That's called getting towards peace. There was also 23 badly wounded soldiers returned to Ukraine by Russia. That is a huge deal. Okay, this is showing that Russia is willing to work with Ukraine. They're returning wounded soldiers. This is called peace. This is called negotiating peace, and they're trying to do it more comprehensively. But this is temporary for right now. Okay, it's not going to happen overnight. This war that's been going on for years, thank you, Joe Biden, would have never happened had Donald Trump been elected in 2020. But whatever, I'm still salty about it, and you should be too, because people are dead now as a result. And I don't believe that he even won the 2020 election. But anyway, so Russia has agreed to halt attacks on Ukrainian energy for at least 30 days. Okay, so no attacks on Ukrainian energy for at least 30 days. There's a ceasefire, 30 days. This is a big deal, and the media is dismissing this. They're saying, "Oh, he waited over an hour for this phone call," which isn't actually what happened. Okay, Donald Trump. Now, this is in Russian. I'm going to play it here for you in just a second, but it's in Russian. This video. And basically what's going on here is they're at this like summit, okay? And Vladimir Putin is on with somebody else, and they're at this like summit looking thing, and he's on stage. And the guy with him on stage, Vladimir Putin, says, "Hey, you're supposed to have a conversation with Donald Trump, before whatever time, right? You're supposed to have a conversation with Donald Trump." And Putin, he kind of like makes a joke about his press secretary, hey, your press secretary, Putin's press, like he made a joke that was about Peskov, okay, his press secretary having to deal with that. And he wasn't, attacking Donald Trump. And in fact, in the video, Putin says, "I wasn't talking about Donald Trump." So like the guy that was with him, I have no idea, Alexander Shokin is his name. He said, "We should see what Trump says about that," because, Putin had said something like, Peskov, don't listen to Peskov. It's his job, it's his job to worry about the details of my phone calls and things like that. And he knows that I was obviously in this conference or in this stage, and it's his job to schedule my phone calls and stuff. So don't listen to Peskov. It's his job to worry about all of that. Because Peskov is saying like, "Hey, you need to have a conversation with Donald Trump." So like this is a joke about the press secretary, and Putin even clarifies that. Putin says, "I haven't mentioned Trump. I was talking about Peskov, the press secretary Peskov, and I was making a joke about Peskov." Like he even clarified it in the actual clip, and it's all in Russian, so I'll play it for you if you want. But that's summing it up. Vladimir Putin was making a joke about his press secretary, and then they grabbed onto it and they selected a clip. The left and the media, they selected a very small portion of this overall clip, where he later clarifies, "I wasn't joking about Donald Trump. I'm joking about the press secretary. I mentioned Peskov, not Trump." So several people on X have claimed that Donald Trump waited over an hour for this phone call. That's not what happened. Now, there was like a scheduling error, and Peskov probably screwed up, to be honest with you. But there was a scheduling error, right? So it wasn't like he was making Donald Trump wait. And you can kind of tell that from the context clues that this was a Peskov problem. Vladimir Putin made a joke about his press secretary on stage. And the media is not acting in your best interest. That's why I wanted to bring this up this morning. They're not acting in your best interest. They should be telling you the numbers. Like, hey, 175 prisoners each side. Okay, so this is a big prisoner swap that's happening. There's also going to be wounded soldiers returned to Ukraine. These should be the headlines, right? But rather the headlines are, Trump waited an hour for a phone call from Putin, where Trump got played, with his phone call with Putin because nothing happened. This isn't going to happen overnight. Why? Because Zelensky's being a little butt about it. Okay, we know that he's being a little butt about negotiations, and he's asking for the moon and stars when it comes to this negotiation. And we know that it's not going to happen overnight, but this is a huge win. These are victories, and they should be treated as such in the headlines. These are victories towards peace. So I don't know why the media is lying. They never really lie in favor of Donald Trump. Like the lies are always against Donald Trump. Okay, they always tell lies, and it never benefits Donald Trump. They never tell a lie about, say Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. They never tell lies about those guys to benefit Donald Trump in any kind of way. So the lies are all one-sided, always. And yeah, they are not acting in your best interest. Why do the lies always line up on one side of the aisle to make Trump look weak or bad? They always line up for one side of the aisle. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9. All right. I'm going to play the clip. Here we go. Dan, I will watch the clip. He did not make a joke about Donald Trump. He even clarified. Okay, I'll show you the clip where he said, I wasn't talking about Donald Trump. I was talking about Peskov, which is his press secretary. Okay, so let me play it here for you in just a second. Okay, here we go. So this is Alexander Shokin, and he was on stage. Oh, here we go. He was on stage, and he says, it's translated here, given that you have a conversation with Donald Trump before 6, according to Peskov. Okay, according to Peskov. Don't listen to him, Peskov. It's his job. We shall see what Trump will say about it. He likes doing interviews. I haven't mentioned Trump. I was talking about Peskov. Okay. So right there's the translation. Let me show you. He clarifies it right here. He goes, I haven't mentioned Donald Trump. I was talking about Peskov. He was making a joke about his press secretary being pesky. Okay. And he goes, don't worry about it. It's his job to, bark orders. Like it's his job to, get me to places on time. Okay. Don't worry about Peskov. He was kind of poking fun at his press secretary for being pesky. You know what I mean? And this was taken out of context 100%, Dan. So I don't know. Well, okay, now you're going to say what the joke is about or whom. It doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because you have people on X and you have people in the leftist media saying, and you out here saying that he made Trump wait. Nice try. He made a joke about Donald Trump while he made Trump wait. Like that wasn't what that was about. He was making a joke about how pesky Peskov is, kind of. Like that's kind of what Putin was saying. He goes, don't worry about my press secretary. It's kind of his job to be pesky. That's what Putin was saying. And like he was making fun of his press secretary, really. Or poking a joke at him, not being facetious or mean or anything. It was, people do that all the time. Oh, don't worry about my press secretary. It's kind of his job to do this, be a little pesky. But he clarifies right here. So when he says, oh, we'll have to see what Trump will say about that. He likes doing interviews. You're making him wait. That's what Alexander Shokin says. And he goes, to be clear, I wasn't talking about Trump. I was talking about Peskov. It's his job to get me to places on time, but he's being a little pest about it, right? So, like, the only part that matters is that Trump had to wait. Period. Like, no, it doesn't matter. Or it does matter that there's context here where Putin is straight up saying that he wasn't making a joke about Trump. Okay, that's what this part is. I've got the translation right here. Trump had to wait. It was a scheduling error. And there was a miscommunication. It was between 4 and 6. The phone call was supposed to happen between 4 and 6. And it was a scheduling error. And that's what happened. Okay. It really doesn't matter. The result of the phone call was 175 prisoner swaps each. Are you going to recognize the victories here from that phone call? The 175 prisoners each, the 23 wounded soldiers returned to Ukraine, the 30-day ceasefire. Like, are you going to recognize that? Oh, the left makes my head hurt. Okay. So I'm going to play this clip. It's in Russian, but I'll translate. So here we go.
По заявлениям Дмитрия Сергеевича Пескова, у вас разговор должен до 18 часов состояться с Дональдом Трампом.
Okay, you're supposed to have a phone call with Donald Trump before 6, and he's on stage with somebody and he's doing an appearance, Vladimir Putin. Okay, and here's what Putin says.
Не знаю, насколько он... Работа такая.
Don't listen to Peskov. It's his job. And then people like roar in the crowd, and you can visibly see on Putin's face, he's kind of like confused. Don't worry about Peskov. It's his job. So in a way, I would say that like this is a joke more so towards Peskov, like, oh, he's being kind of pesky, like that's what I'd imagine, the sentiment of this joke was. And the media outright just lying and saying that this is a joke about, making Donald Trump wait. That's just an outright lie. And here's how I know it's a lie, because Putin comes back. Here we go.
Ну, не знаю, сейчас надо посмотреть, что на эту фразу сказать.
So Alexander Shokin, the guy he's on stage with, says, we shall see what Trump says about that. He likes doing interviews and you're making him wait. Trump isn't going to like being put on hold.
Он любит интервью давать, может уже отреагировать.
I haven't mentioned Trump. I was talking about Peskov. I haven't mentioned Donald Trump. I was talking about Peskov. Like, he is the one who I'm making fun or made a joke about, So yeah, the left, when they're called out on their lies, they won't let it go. Okay. This is an outright lie. They took this last part of the clip where Putin says, I didn't mention Donald Trump. I was talking about Peskov, where he clarifies the joke and who the joke was about. They cut that portion off of this clip, and then they're trying to say that he joked about, not meeting with President Trump on time. I think it was like a scheduling error or something. And yes, Donald Trump had to wait for the phone call. It happened a little after 6 or whatever at the White House, but it was a 90-minute phone call, folks. And people get so hung up on this little detail about Trump having to wait, and they don't talk about the big wins here. I'm talking 175 prisoners each. Okay, so Russia had to give up 175 prisoners of war. Ukraine had to give up 175 prisoners of war. This is peace. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to peace, and this is evidence of that. We have quantifiable wins, where we have 23 badly wounded soldiers that Russia had, and they were returned to Ukraine. There's been halts on Ukrainian energy, or attacks on Ukrainian energy. There's a halt for at least 30 days, ceasefire, 30 days. I mean, this is a big deal. And the left, it keeps saying that Donald Trump got played, and I don't understand it where. Okay. There are quantifiable wins here. All right. We've talked about so much this morning. I got to go. But big news. If you guys didn't catch it in the 6 o'clock hour, McLean County Sheriff's Office is investigating what appears to be what I'm going to call a conspiracy among McLean County school districts to try to convince you to vote for the sales tax referendum. Okay, so Illinois law, state law, talks about election interference and talks about how you can't use taxpayer funds to promote a political candidate or a referendum, okay, or a ballot initiative. You can't use company time and things like that. That is why, Elizabeth Johnson, she's facing a complaint with the Illinois State Board of Elections over the PAC established to eliminate the county auditor, right, and going around soliciting donations. She's come under fire for that. This is a big no-no, okay? And if that's happening, where they're using taxpayer funds and they're using government public infrastructure to promote this, and you've got this school districts kind of coordinating with a PAC that has recently been established to pass this is a big no. You can't do that. You can't use the public resources to pass things because that's what one would call propaganda. It'd be similar to Xi Jinping paying for, billboards with tax money to get himself elected. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Love you so much. We will be back at it again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. Talk to you soon. Okay, wait a second. Dan, what do you mean you haven't heard Trump got played? Sounds like a tall tale. Like, are you questioning that people are saying that? Because Jimmy Kimmel, he's the one who did a whole comedic bit. I'm gonna have to try to find it. Let me try to figure this out. I want to share this with you because I can't believe that you're actually saying this. Do you not believe me when I say that the media is telling you that he got played? Literally look it up on any ABC, CBS. They're saying that he got played in these negotiations that Donald Trump did. Jimmy Kimmel, I'd have to find the clip here. Here we go. Okay, right here. Okay, I don't even really have to play it because this is a longer clip that I found. But right here at the top, Trump getting played by Putin, wants to host Kennedy Center honors as an ass kisser of the week. I don't know.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for joining us. Hollywood, California, on really 100 horrible things they did today, or maybe I don't know, they had to let the documents dry after fishing them out of Trump's toilet. I don't know. What I do know is they just finally came out at 7:30. There are 80,000 pages of files.
Okay,
just to put that in perspective, that's
finals.
almost 20 times longer than the productive lives. Some even host their own late night talk show. But let's get that TDS in the books. But only 5 of them are. Laura Trump was arrested. It's like he's just about to start the.
I don't know. I can't find the shorter clip, but this is where he talks about getting played by Putin. So, yeah. What do you mean? Besides a comedian, dude, Dan, I can't fight with you all day. So just Google search Trump got played. Okay. And you go to the news. Trump got played, MSNBC, by Putin. Okay, right here, man. Trump got played. There's a headline. Just go look it up. All right, I'm done. I'm done now. Okay, you guys have a blessed rest of your day. You can go look up the headlines, the left, the media. Look up. There's a tweet out there that talks about that clip with Putin and Alexander Shokin. And how he made the joke about Peskov. There's a tweet out there that has 2 million views or something on it, where they talk about how Putin had, and it's some sort of media acolyte, where a blue checkmark type guy. Where he says that Putin made a joke about Donald Trump, and that was elevated to the point of 2 million viewers. Okay, so people are definitely saying that Trump got played in this phone call. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Love you.